Hi, I'm really glad that you're here thinking about an executive coaching relationship. I find that a lot of my clients, whether you've worked with a coach before or not, have come with a lot of questions. How do I work? What's my approach? What kind of challenges could we tackle together? And, ultimately, what's in it for you? Fair question. So I'd like to take a few minutes and share my perspective with you. And if you're finding this interesting and intriguing and want to continue the conversation, go ahead and take the link on this page to set up an inquiry call, and we can talk about the challenges in front of you and how I might be able to help you. One of the things I love about working with executives is that when you're operating at an executive level, regardless of what your title is, you are always balancing and wrestling with a combination of tough business challenges and tough personal challenges, because the tough business challenges almost always take us into some kind of personal discomfort zone. They stretch us and they challenge us to be more than we are. And I love that, because that discomfort zone is the place where you grow into being your highest self, and you grow into being more than you think you can be oftentimes. And that's a wonderful process for me to be able to support. And what it ends up looking like, of course, will depend on where your discomfort zone is. But some of the areas that I most commonly work with clients on come into, it can be sort of straight business prioritization and how do we think about prioritizing not only your personal time and energy, but the time and energy of your people and your company. Where's that best spent? And I put up a mirror to be able to, and I give you tools to be able to think about prioritization in ways that allow you to align and streamline and focus your efforts and your people's efforts. I work with a lot of people on communication, and communication is a very broad category, and it can start with just getting used to the idea of executive communication, leading with the bottom line, getting very clear, very succinct, very focused on the core messages and the key messages that are necessary to be effective communicating at the executive level. However, it can go far beyond this, because communicating isn't just about the three top messages. How you deliver that, how you line things up before the key communication, the presentation in front of the board. Who do you have to get lined up to be on your side in that meeting? That's all a part of executive communication. And this can lead into issues of executive presence. And that means a lot of things to a lot of people. So my approach to and lens on executive presence is to start with the substance. Make sure you're not only very clear on what you're trying to communicate and why you're trying to communicate it, and how other people are likely to hear it, and what's in it for them. If you get what you want out of the communication, what are they getting? So it kind of gets into negotiations and thinking about how many communications at the executive level are negotiations. And also through that whole process, tapping into the pieces that you care most about and why you care about them, because that's where your personal commitment comes in. That's where your personal ability to influence other people comes in. When you're tapped into what you care about most, what's important to you about this, and what's important to your customers and your clients and your employees. When you tap into that, you have the opportunity to communicate at an even more impactful and influential level. So I work with you on that. And I find that when we get to that point, a lot of the other issues of executive presence kind of flow. The external, how you're presenting yourself, the way that you're lining things up before and after the most critical communication, those things tend to come into line when you're really focused on the pieces that you have the most energy around. Now, another aspect of communications is executive visibility, and this can lead into personal branding and your effort to position yourself for new roles or to go after new roles. And so we will look at your career objectives and how you're going to position yourself for them, whether you're in a job search or whether you're preparing for a job search. We'll look at executive visibility opportunities, in your company and in the industry. And sometimes that brings us into thought leadership, because there's lots of different ways to get visibility, and one of the most powerful and influential ways is through thought leadership. And I have tools to help you hone in on some thought leadership platforms, because if you are operating, even if you have a public relations department or firm supporting you or your company, they often are not going to go to the effort to help you come up with your thought leadership platform. But once you have it, they'll help you get media placements and speaking opportunities. But actually coming up with it on your own and honing it for a broader audience can be something that we can work on. That's where my marketing background comes in handy. I'll talk about that in a minute. The other area that I work with a lot of executives on is leading change. And I do a lot of training and consulting in the change leadership area. And I've spent a lot of time looking at the dynamics of change on an organizational level. So I spend time with my clients helping them think through how do we actually initiate a change that has the potential to stick. And there's a lot of organizational dynamics in that, but there's a lot of interpersonal dynamics. And I find a lot of leaders, it's easy to see how other people are challenging the change process. It's harder for them to shine that light on themselves and see the ways that they're actually providing resistance to the change process unintentionally. So I work with people not only to help them become the leaders that can lead change through discomfort, particularly discomfort of a lot of other people around them, but also have the insights to be able to design change initiatives so that they take advantage of the natural opportunities that change initiatives create to actually engage employees and enroll people to become supportive instead of resistant. So I do a lot of work with executives there. And all of this really kind of leads us to the opportunity that you have that I'm very focused on, which is being your best self and growing into your highest potential through the process of these various challenges, like the ones we've talked about and perhaps other ones. Because you have an opportunity to achieve success, a kind of success you've never achieved before. And once you achieve it, you have an opportunity to move on to even bigger successes. And that only happens if in the process of your success, you become capable of more. You become able to see more and do more, but not by spending more time on it, but by getting more focused on what matters and where the impact is really coming from, and use your time and energy extremely efficiently and intentionally to be able to achieve those results at higher and higher levels. And that's what I really love about this work personally, is helping you do that. Now, who am I that I can help you? Ever since I got out of grad school, all of my work has really kept me in and around the executive suite. So I started my career in international public policy and technology policy for a Fortune 50 company, which had me working with executives in very close proximity. I moved into a marketing role, but always launching new technology initiatives, which kept us into the executive suite because there's always big investments being made. And then when I moved into executive roles myself in more mid-sized and smaller companies, I was in the marketing role, but operating in the executive team, I got a real sense of the dynamics that happen in the team. And I began to understand that, just because you have a discipline in marketing or administration or operations or sales, doesn't mean that that's the limit of your executive responsibility or your executive perspective, because now you really have to be operating at a strategic level and just, company-wide. And you need to be thinking about the company's overall success and presentation to the market as a whole. And that's a different perspective. It requires not only different perspective in terms of how you think about success, your own and the company's, but it also brings you into some really challenging relationships with your peers, with people on their teams, people on your teams, with the board, and it gets pretty complex. And that's where it becomes more than just communication. It's not about an individual relationship. It's more about how you are seen. What's your brand? What influence do you have? How do you navigate and negotiate those relationships for your own benefit and for the company's benefit? That's a really interesting place to be. And having worked both in commercial, government, large nonprofits, launching businesses into the market and having to negotiate all of the decisions that get made in launching businesses, I've picked up a lot of tips and experiences that are relevant. Also, having worked for companies for several years, training their employees on change and working with them to look at employee engagement strategies, I've come up with a lot of tools and a lot of techniques that can help you pretty efficiently and quickly pick up some new skills, particularly interpersonal skills, but also skills related to designing change initiatives, etc. So I bring all of that to bear as needed and as appropriate in our relationship to help you really identify what are those key areas you have to grow into your highest potential using the challenges right in front of you. And then I support you in the process to make sure that gets done. And I bring in an intuitive and a compassionate approach to our work together too, because this is hard work and it's not always easy. And I know that. And I'm here to stand with you and stand for you as you're standing for the company's success and your team's success. And that's what I love most about this, is that I get to help you see your highest potential, support you as you grow into it until you can see even more of your potential beyond that. So I look forward to talking to you and carrying this conversation a little bit further. So take the link below and schedule us a short call, and we'll see if we're a good fit. Take care.